Hello, everybody. So we were asked to speak a little bit about ourselves, so I'm going to give my own shameless plug. Today is my birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ardath. Happy birthday to you. How old are you?
25, thanks, Shantae. But Shantae's older than me. So this poem is called A State of Crisis. Some nights, like this night, I wake up screaming. A wise person once said that poetry is the language of a state of crisis. But if that is so, then every maple-stamped soul must breathe prose so eloquent that hummingbirds fly from their poetic mouths as if the wet lips of language were nectar-filled blooms to drink from. Or so I think as I midnight sit, knees up to my chin, scribbling crisis on the backs of open envelopes. I'm tempted to just apologize and continue sleeping, put down my pen and just turn up the TV, but on nights like this, if you're listening, you can hear the symphony. For the poetry of this sparse land sounds like a rainstorm of wet-kissed whispers, too polite to speak inconvenient truth audibly. The voices of the many who read the hushed decrees of this state of crisis may chant the verdict of lives lived in poverty, a chorus of stomachs rolling thunderous empty, and so I plead for you tonight, please stay awake, except that 400 thread count sheets are no real escape, because when the alarm bell rings, polar cap-filled icy seas will still be swallowing mountains. Project kids and young mothers will be lost in the darkness of crack houses. First Nations families will be brushing their teeth with reserve water ripe with bacteria and viruses. I tell you, no real rest comes from sleeping on broken political promises. You see, I know where I was made, but not how I got here. I've painted all my ugly days and dreams, and I've just buried my fears, so who am I to talk about having answers? Most days I feel like I'm just a windburned kid in rain boots walking the segregation tightrope of a dingy port town. Trying to be somewhere on time in the fog and not get my cell phone wet, I'm giving up on escape after too many failed attempts. I've wrapped myself in water and paddled into the horizon, but was always carried back, kicking and screaming in that most maritime of salvations we call winter surfing. I've followed the Northumberland Strait to where the gravel road is winding, evaporates into dirt, bluff nothing atop shale highlands crumbling into the sky, and where the trees grow barely taller than your knees. It twisted in the salt winds hundreds of feet above frigid mercurial tides, and it was white-capped beautiful. And I've driven to the very end of that road, and I scratched my name in the sands of Meat Cove and ate blueberries growing in ditches littered with garbage. Buoys and traps that sat rotting since our seas were emptied, and my harborside home became the most violent city per capita in this whole country. Yet this beast we call home, it continues sleeping, immersed in iPod beats and climate-controlled SUVs, lighting and smoking, sipping on a Timmy's as the silent cancer feeds on our communities. And rough-hewn grandfathers pass the hours away by drinking, smoking discarded cigarette butts in front of the Salvation Army, and somewhere along that same line, I started thinking that I could find the answers to everything on the internet. Knowing I could be happier but make myself too busy with waiting. So tonight I will sit, but I am not the man dreaming of the butterfly. I'm the butterfly and of man. Tonight I'm dreaming, and I'm trying to formulate a plan before morning about that not another day will pass without warning. Because as the tides rolled, we were somehow caught in that undertow, but the harder we fight reality, the faster we will sink into the deep. And so between the Pacific and Atlantic, we keep treading water. So please, fall into sleep, forgetting my words as you drift into your dreams. I may be alone up here, but I am asking you to join me. To speak for those who fall between the cracks, silently on our own streets, speaking in poetry of a world that's as real as internet pornography and as sincere as reality TV. A wise person, well, they once said that poetry was the language of a state of crisis. And I believe that if that is so, then every maple-stamped soul must breathe prose. Or so I think, as I midnight sit in snowless winter's grit, scribbling my crisis on the backs of discarded envelopes.